Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily Dose of Gaming News and all that good stuff. And as always, also published on Rumble, which I think it's in sync, kind of, usually. But yeah. And today we should be able to have XCOM 2. I still didn't manage to upload the episode, but I will publish. It might be not like in 4K, but I will leave like updates on Twitter to see how it goes, depending on the time that YouTube takes to process the thing, but I will let you know on Twitter any kind of updates regarding this. Yeah, I usually don't do community posts because it's not what YouTube was made for, in my opinion. Not even the short stuff. No, it's for long format videos. But yeah, that's another ramble. We got some not that much stuff here, but some interesting things here, especially on terms of hardware. Intel supposedly is going to adopt the technology of stacked Vcache, so 3D, something compatible to the 3D Vcache from AMD CPUs, and I think AMD is going to implement that also in GPUs, not mistaken. Somewhere in the future, I think they have that in the roadmap. But yeah, through it was in Q&A session at Innovation 2023, which basically they asked that question and confirmed that Intel, while Intel will take a bit of different approach, it will also use stacked cache memory paired with the CPU die. The quote here that it's referenced here, it's when you reference Vcache, you're talking about very specific technology that TSMC does with some of its customers as well. Obviously, we're doing that differently in our composition because they have their own fabs. That's why they can take a different approach. In that particular type of technology isn't something that's part of Meteor Lake. I think it's the ones that it's going to launch, the 14 or 15. I don't cover too much Intel stuff because it's very confusing, and when they launch products, there is like 5% when it does in terms of performance, and they are basically refreshers of the same kind of the thing. That's why I don't cover too much Intel stuff. It's very complicated, for at least keep track of everything. For me, it's because they use sometimes they use Meteor Lake, then they use the number scheme, and I usually cannot correlate, so that's why I usually don't do very much Intel. But of course, if there is something like this that is worth mentioning, at least piques my interest, I will let you know. Yeah, but the idea of 3D silicon, we will have that cache on one die, and we'll have CPU compute on a stack die on the top of it. So basically, it's like the same principle, but then in a different way, so physically in a different way. But yeah, it is on the roadmap. I hope that they are very successful on this. Also in their Intel Arc, I hope that the Battle Mage is a very good stack of products, because it brings competition, and when you have more competition, especially in a very thin market like this one, for example, GPUs, CPUs, we only basically have Intel and AMD competing for the CPU stuff, and you only free at the moment in terms of GPU, Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. So the more companies that can bring something to the table and be competitive, it's always it's good to see. But yeah, hopefully they do it soon, rather sooner than later, and maybe we will see some kind of competition. For then AMD has to bring up, elevate their game also. Regarding games, we got Assassin's Creed Mirage PC requirements. Again, doesn't seem to have very demanding stuff here. They say they get also for the PC port. This is done with like it's like the deal, but with Intel. This game, which is interesting. So they will not have DLSS and FSR support at games launch. But yeah, supposedly it's optimized for the upscaling from Intel and GPU from Intel also. Got here an image here. It's not very demanding. for example, the minimum from what they consider 1080p low, the preset of the graphics low at playing at 30 FPS. It's like an Intel Arc 3080, a 1060, very old GPU. I had this one, and even the RX 570. There's a CPU like a 4th generation Intel Core, and even a Ryzen 1600, which is they are very old. But I think we'll going to see a lot of 1080p high settings targeting 60 frames FPS. So the Intel Arc A7050, the 1660 Ti from AMD, and the RX 5600 XT supposedly should be enough to handle the graphics. And the CPUs 8th generation Intel and or AMD Ryzen 5 3600. 16 gigabytes, which is like the usual stuff here. They say here SSD storage doesn't mean you have to have like a NVMe. Of course, in this day and age, the SSD storage is so cheap. Even like a 512 gigabyte storage, it's so cheap these days, like 20 bucks, something like that, if not mistaken. I think they have like at least comparable in my market. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's very cheap still. And of course, until we get all the ramp up till Ultra, which is kind of interesting. What they are targeting Ultra's preset kind of graphics there with 60 frames per second minimum, I suppose, or average. I never know the target. It's like minimum or average of 60 frames FPS. But you supposedly just need a 3080 10 gigabyte or a 6900 XT 16 gigabytes. So supposedly the minimum VRAM for the GPU at this high end, it's 10 gigabytes. It's comparable here. I don't know, the 6900 XT, I think it's a little bit stronger than the 3080, because if not mistaken, the 3080 had similar performance to the 6800 XT. I don't know if it is the GPU they had with them and not the 6800 XT, even though it's a very popular one. I don't know. In terms of CPU, we got the 11600K from Intel and 5600X from AMD, which is pretty decent. But okay, here it requires DirectX 12, upcap frame rate. This is part of the PC stuff. In-depth customization options, hybrid input, multi-monitor, and widescreen support in game benchmark for performance analysis. So supposedly my PC at the moment should be handle like, I don't know, taking into account the performance scaling, I don't know, ultra 100 frames or 120. But yeah, I think we like older systems, like 3-year systems should handle like around between at least 1440p, 60 frames or higher. I'm not sure if 4K monitors are something that it's very regular on the market. I think 4040p it's more something that we see here, even though we have a lot of 1080p gaming systems here. But yeah, it's an achievable one. But the main thing that it worries me, they have like a feature trailers here. Yeah, it's the thing that I talked once. It's the game engine. I don't know if it is like an older version, but the footage sometimes seems a little bit wanky on animation. They have like the camel riding there. Seems a little bit weird the way the camel moves on the footage. Supposedly it's captured on PC. Supposedly capturing on PC will be like 4K kind of thing there. But yeah, it seems some jankiness. I don't know if there is the engine again, the limitation of older engines, because the Anvil engine, it comes since at I think at least Assassin's Creed 3, the original one, which is an old game now to our standards. I think at least 10 years. So it's like the thing with Starfield. It's the main thing with proprietary engines. It's they can get a little bit old because companies tend not to like do a total revamp of their engine and just just patch the engine to a certain degree depending on the game they are launching. But yeah, hope that the game is good. Suppose like back to the roots kind of a thing here, more similar to Assassin's Creed 1, which is very enjoyable. At the time that it was launched, now the mechanics are a little bit old. The combat is not that good, even though it's not a combat game, it's more like an assassination game. So the mechanics of blending in the environment and hiding and cover, if they are very well more refined than the first game, I think it can be a pretty decent game here. But yeah, we'll have to see when the reviews come out, when the game come out, which is I don't remember when it comes out. Didn't see anything here. They don't mention here also on the, but I think it's coming soon. But I don't recall the exact date. But yeah, hopefully it's a good game. Now, Starfield supposedly has surpassed 10 million players 2 weeks after launch. Of course, take it with a grain of salt because supposedly these numbers will have to have the Xbox Pass. I think it's what's called the thing there of the subscription base. So this game was launched for Xbox Game Pass players. So yeah, this doesn't translate automatically in 10 million sales. So always when the games that are on Xbox, especially exclusives, will have this caveat. The fact that 10 million people are playing doesn't mean that you have like 10 million sales of the game, because a subscription-based service, it doesn't take the same kind of the amount of money from a sale than from renting the thing. But yeah, I didn't know that they stopped reporting this kind of data, like separate from Game Pass subscribers and the full sales regarding Xbox ecosystem, which is kind of strange. But supposedly, we still know that the game fastest selling new IP, new IP, okay, 2023, and the biggest Xbox generation in Europe, trailed Hogwarts Legacy, Diablo 4. Legend of Zelda, Tears of Kingdom, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This is not. This has old IPs. I don't understand why they are comparing a new IP with old IP. Why do they compare it with new IPs that came out this year? But okay, whatever. And of course, in terms of concurrent peaks, it didn't surpass Fallout still, because this is from Steam. So it needs a little bit more time, I think, if it's going to surpass that. But yeah, again, older engine. They are, from what I've been seeing from videos, people playing and everything, and some tips and tricks that I usually see, it seems to have like a lot of interesting systems. Again, it's part of what Bethesda usually does. I like very much like Fallout. It's not even the main story. It's the world they built and the systems that you can interact with while you're roaming around. You find interesting stories, interesting characters here and there. For example, in Fallout 3, you had like I forget, like up north, you have like the tree guy that it came from Fallout 1, and you have like interesting interactions with these characters and everything, and the lore that it's usually spread out on computers, on journals and everything. It's what Bethesda does very well. Sometimes they can manage to gel everything together pretty nicely in a nice package, but yeah, Starfield is a galactic kind of a scope game, and with a lot of loading screens, so I don't think it's an immersive game, even though there are certain mods that are trying to mitigate that situation. But yeah, it seems that it has some interesting systems. Of course, they are kind of limited by the engine itself. Let's say shipbuilding, and because there are mods for unlocking shipbuilding and stuff like that, you are kind of limited to the size of your ship. And also, for example, the settlement systems there. I think you can like mine resources and everything, and biology stuff, fauna and flora. You can mine. You can farm animals, but I'm not sure how that work. I'm not sure. And you can have like all the things that you do on one planet transfer to your main hub. I think you have several companions. You can have like a fleet of ships to a certain degree, and I think you can. I'm not sure if you can put one crew on one ship doing like routes, exchanging resources and everything. I'm not sure if it supposedly it's interesting if they can manage to do that, but I didn't see too much discussed there. But yeah, it will be good for sure. There are mods that are going to be handled to especially when the creation mod support thing. I always forget the name of that of what they do. When official support for modding from Bethesda comes, the creation kit, I think it's called. I think we will see more expensive mods regarding that to play with those systems a little bit better and fine tune some stuff there. But yeah, and finally we got the Banishers Ghost of New Eden, the gameplay overview trailer. The game will come out very soon, November 7. So they are kind of trying to ramp up the thing here. This game, I don't know, still a lot of interesting things here. The trailer tries to give a little bit more systems here and what you should be able to do, and like the fact don't this I think this studio is very more known for Life is Strange or something like that, if not mistaken. So it's about more like dialogue and choices and consequences. I think they are more in that vein. We'll see about the combat, the exploration, the story between the two main characters, if it's good or not, if it makes like kind of a sense, because they wanted to ground a little bit on being in a very specific date and place in not Korean history, but in our history. We'll see if it makes any kind of sense, even though it's not fantastic, fantasy kind of a game here, so it deals with the dead and spirits and all that stuff. We'll see how it goes. The trailer is not that bad, but we'll see how it goes. Again, always wait for reviews. I hope every game that comes out in this world is good, but yeah, I reserve my expectations very low for every game because I prefer to be surprised than to be disappointed. I'm going to wrap up some gaming deals. We still have Dead Space, the remake from this year, 40% off, which is pretty good. Again, this is like from the reviews and everybody that has been playing, it's an overall improvement of the original one, given in graphics, gameplay, story, how the story is spaced out a little bit. It's a little bit better and everything, and the zero-G things. It's been amplified and improved here. Also, we got Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, which is a mouthful. I spoke about the first time I brought this, I was a little bit confused of the naming scheme. But yeah, basically the fact that it's Integrate, it's like the enhanced version of the remake version. So it's like an enhanced, better graphic wise. I think it's more about because of the PC stuff. It can handle more processing demand from the game engine. But yeah, seems on pretty good grounds here. Everybody seems to be enjoying to a certain degree, even though it has it's kind of a remake. Remaster is more graphic, but it's a remake here. It's what the name says, which is good. And it's 43% off till the 25th. We got also Journey. Again, this is one of those must play for, in my opinion. It's 50% off, so I think it's pretty good. And we got some Annapurna Interactive with Stray. Yesterday we got the Edith Finch stuff. You can check out the Annapurna. They usually have pretty good games here. And of course, I'm going to finish off with Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, the GOTY edition. So got everything there, 50% off, $30. Again, it's one of those that I'm also interested in playing with as Elden Ring. It's the next game I want to see if I can buy, but I'm kind of also trying to wait for the DLC from the Elden Ring to start playing, because it will be more balanced out and it will have like the DLC already, so I think it's good. But I will play a lot of times for sure. But yeah, this is what I have for today. And of course, I got my plugin from my Patreon page here. Everything will be posted here also, and you will have it's most for me for extra help for me to maintain my PC, especially at the moment with storage for my personal kind of job and my freelancing. to have like backups of backups, and to have a little bit more storage for the recordings that I do for the channel. Basically, that is it at the moment, my main urgency per se. But yeah, the rest I'm kind of good at the moment, and of course it will be to buy the odd game here and there to make a gaming series or something like that. And with all that said, guys, I hope you have a full day, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, Kunamy Master out.